Welcome back, my dear history lovers. Today we are going to another incredible and eye-opening journey into the fascinating world of rare coins, where tiny pieces of metal that we often overlook can hide stories worth millions. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most mysterious and valuable coins in American history, the 1965 Liberty Quarter Dollar. On its surface, it looks like just another common coin that might pass through your hands every day, worth only 25 cents. But hidden behind its simple design lies a shocking possibility that one of these 1965 Liberty quarters, because of extraordinary minting errors, rare transitional mistakes, and unique characteristics, could be worth an unbelievable $159 million. Yes, one coin, a single quarter, originally worth only 25 cents, is believed to have a value higher than even the most precious gold or rare jewels. The story of the 1965 quarter is one that captures imagination, mystery, and history all at once. It's a story about a moment of great change at the United States Mint, a time when new technology, new materials, and human error came together to create one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever rumored to exist. It's a story of transition from silver to copper nickel and of how that change produced coins so unique, so rare, and so mysterious, that they've become legends among collectors. Let's start by traveling back in time to the mid-1960s, a period that forever changed American coinage. For decades, the U.S. Mint had been striking quarters made of 90% silver and 10% copper. These silver quarters were beautiful, heavy, and shiny, but as the price of silver rose sharply in the early 1960s, the U.S. government faced a major problem. The silver in a quarter was becoming worth more than the coin's face value. People started hoarding silver coins, melting them down for their metal content, and the mint found itself running short of silver to keep up with demand. In 1965, the U.S. Mint made a bold decision to eliminate silver from the quarter altogether. Instead of a solid silver composition, they introduced a new clad coin made of copper and nickel, a copper core sandwiched between two layers of nickel. This new quarter looked similar to the old one but was cheaper to produce and solved the silver shortage problem. The change officially took place in 1965, but transitions like this are rarely perfect. Mistakes, mix-ups, and oversights happen. And in that confusion, treasures are born. Here's where the legend begins. During the transition from silver to clad quarters, a few silver planchets, the blank discs meant for the older 1964 quarters, were accidentally left in the minting machines. These planchets should have been removed before the 1965 coins were struck, but somehow, a handful of them slipped through. As a result, a very small number of 1,965 quarters were struck on silver planchets instead of the new copper-nickel ones. These coins are known as transitional errors, and they are among the most sought-after coins in all of American history. Now imagine one of these rare 1965 silver quarters struck not only on the wrong planchet but also with additional minting mistakes, a misaligned die, a doubled image, or even an error involving the mint mark. That's where the story of the $159 million Liberty Quarter begins, with the idea that one coin, through a combination of errors, anomalies, and perfect timing, became unlike any other coin ever made. In 1965, another major change was happening. The U.S. Mint stopped placing mint marks on coins. This was done to discourage collectors from hoarding certain mint issues during the coin shortage. That means that no quarters dated 1965 should have a mint mark. So, if a 1965 quarter were ever discovered with a mint mark, for example, a small D for Denver or an S for San Francisco, that would immediately make it an incredible anomaly. It would mean that the coin was struck with a die that wasn't supposed to be used that year. That kind of mint mark error alone could make a coin worth thousands, but combine it with the silver composition error and possible doubling, and the value could skyrocket beyond imagination. Collectors believe that somewhere out there, One such coin exists, a 1965 Liberty quarter struck on a 90% silver planchet, with a visible mint mark, and possible doubling on the lettering or date. This combination would make it unique in the world, and that uniqueness is what drives its astronomical estimated value of $159 million. Let's talk about what these errors could look like in detail. One possible error is the doubled die. This happens when the die used to strike the coin has a design that was impressed twice, slightly misaligned. When coins are struck from that die, parts of the design appear doubled. You might see doubling in the word Liberty, in the motto I in God we trust, or in the date 1965. Sometimes the doubling is subtle, visible only under magnification, but in rare cases, it's strong enough to see with the naked eye. A 1965 quarter with clear doubled letters or numbers would be an extremely rare find, especially if struck on a silver planchet. Another possibility is a planchet error, where the coin was struck on a blank intended for a completely different denomination. There are cases where quarters have been struck on nickel planchets, dime planchets, or even foreign coin blanks. These off-metal errors are incredibly valuable, but a 1965 quarter struck on a silver planchet from 1964 would be even more special because it bridges two eras of U.S. coinage. Then, there are striking errors, off-center strikes, broad strikes, or multiple strikes. An off-center strike happens when the blank planchet isn't properly seated in the press, causing the design to appear shifted or cut off. A broad strike occurs when the coin is struck without a retaining collar, making it spread out and lose its rim. A double strike happens when the coin is struck twice by the press, creating overlapping images. Each of these errors adds another layer of rarity and intrigue. Now imagine combining all of these: a 1965 quarter made of silver, struck off-center, with doubled lettering, and bearing a mint mark that shouldn't exist. That's not just rare. That's one in billions. And that's why collectors and experts talk about the possibility of such a coin being worth $159 million, not just for the silver, not just for the rarity, but because it would be the only one of its kind, the ultimate minting miracle. To understand why this value is even possible, we have to look at how collectors determine worth. In numismatics, rarity, condition, and historical significance drive value. Coins that represent major transitions like the shift from silver to clad are always more valuable. Add to that a unique error, and the coin's value grows exponentially. The 1965 transition was one of the biggest in U.S. coinage history, and the coins from that period capture that moment of change. That's why collectors treasure them so deeply. Now, let's talk about some confirmed examples that fuel the legend. A few 1965 quarters struck on silver planchets have been authenticated. They weigh about 6.25 grams, compared to the standard 5.67 grams of the copper-nickel quarters. This difference in weight is the key indicator of the silver composition. When these coins were discovered, they shocked the numismatic world. One such 1965 silver quarter sold at auction for tens of thousands of dollars. But imagine if one had more than just a silver composition error. Imagine if one also had a visible mint mark, or doubling, or a misalignment. The value could easily soar beyond any previous record. Some collectors speculate that the fabled $159 million coin might have been a prototype or a test strike that accidentally escaped the mint. During transitions, test coins are often made to check the new compositions and machinery. These test strikes are supposed to be destroyed, but sometimes, one or two pieces slip out unnoticed. If a 1965 silver quarter with unique die features were indeed one of those test strikes, it would explain its extreme rarity and enormous value. Beyond physical errors, there's also the mystery of timing. The year 1965 was chaotic for the mint. Coin shortages, composition changes, and massive public demand put enormous pressure on production. My dear sir, in the second history, we go to another amazing and mind blowing journey into the fascinating world of rare coins, where small pieces of metal that we often overlook can turn out to be worth fortunes. We are going to uncover one of the most mysterious, extraordinary, and valuable coins in American history, the 1978 Liberty Quarter Dollar. On the surface, it looks like just another regular quarter that anyone might find in their pocket change, worth only 25 cents. But behind its simple, everyday appearance lies a story so unbelievable that it captures the imagination of collectors all over the world. Because one specific 1978 Liberty Quarter, due to its rare minting errors, mistakes, and unique variations, is believed to be worth an astounding $144 million. Yes, a single quarter, a coin you might have once used to buy a gumball, could hold a value that rivals a luxury mansion, a private jet, or even a small fortune. This isn't just a story about money, it's a story about history, craftsmanship, and the mystery of the minting process. It's about how one tiny imperfection, one small human or mechanical error at the right moment in history, can transform a coin from ordinary to priceless. The 1978 Liberty Quarter is a prime example of that miracle. It represents a period of change and transition at the United States Mint, a time when technology, production speed, and minor inconsistencies could create something truly exceptional. So let's dive deep into the history, the mystery, and the magic behind the 1978 Liberty Quarter Dollar that may just be worth $144 million, a difference that makes this small coin one of the most valuable in the world. Let's start by going back to the late 1970s, a time when the U.S. Mint was working at full capacity to produce billions of coins for a growing economy. The quarter dollar had already gone through significant changes by that time. The silver content that once defined American quarters had been completely removed more than a decade earlier, replaced with a copper-nickel-clad composition starting in 1965. By 1978, quarters were composed of an inner copper core surrounded by layers of nickel, giving them their familiar silvery color but without any actual silver value. These coins featured the iconic portrait of George Washington on the obverse, designed by John Flanagan, and the proud American eagle on the reverse, symbolizing liberty, freedom, and national pride. At first glance, the 1978 quarter might look ordinary, but its story is far from simple. During this year, the Mint produced quarters at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each location had its own set of dies, presses, and workers, and that opened the door for tiny differences and rare errors that make some of these coins incredibly valuable today. The most common mint marks for this coin are the D for Denver and the S for San Francisco, while the quarters from Philadelphia had no mint mark at all. However, as is often the case in coin history, perfection is rare. And sometimes, imperfection is priceless. Errors can happen during every stage of the minting process, from preparing the dies to striking the planchets, and even in the composition of the metal itself. The 1978 Liberty Quarter is believed to have several potential variations and minting errors that could make one coin worth not just hundreds or thousands, but millions, and in the case of one unique specimen, an estimated $144 million. So, what kind of errors and mistakes could possibly make a single quarter worth that much? Let's break down the possibilities. Point 1: of the most fascinating and valuable types of errors is the doubled die error. This occurs when the die, the metal stamp used to imprint the coin's design, is impressed twice with a slight misalignment. The result is that certain parts of the design appear doubled. On the 1978 Liberty Quarter, collectors looked closely at the word Liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," and the date 1978 for signs of doubling. Sometimes the doubling is so subtle that it's almost invisible without magnification, but in rare cases, it can be dramatic and easily seen with the naked eye. Such coins are instantly valuable because they show that the mint's careful process slipped for just a moment, creating a coin unlike any other, Another type of error that can make the 1978 quarter incredibly valuable is a planchet error. The planchet is the blank piece of metal that gets struck to become a coin. Most quarters from 1978 were made from copper nickel-clad planchets weighing 5.67 grams. But every once in a while, mistakes happen. For example, a leftover planchet from another denomination or even another country could find its way into the presses. If a 1978 quarter were accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a silver coin or even a foreign coin with a different metal composition, it would become instantly rare. One especially legendary error would be if a 1978 quarter were struck on a silver planchet from the earlier 1964 series, when quarters were still made of 90% silver. Though this seems impossible more than a decade after the transition, stranger things have happened at the mint. If even one of these silver planchets were stuck in a hopper or machinery, and was later struck with the 1978 design, that coin would be a once-in-a-lifetime find. Because of its unique metal composition and historical anomaly, such a coin could easily command a multi-million-dollar price tag. Another rare and valuable error involves the mint mark. As mentioned earlier, 1978 quarters were struck at multiple mints, and each mint had its own mark. The mint mark was added to the die manually at that time, and this manual process was not immune to mistakes. Sometimes the mint mark was punched more than once, leading to a doubled mint mark. Other times, the mint mark was misplaced slightly higher, lower, or even touching another part of the design. In even rarer cases, a die with the wrong mint mark could have been used, such as a Denver die being sent to Philadelphia or vice versa. A 1978 quarter showing an unusual mint mark, or one where the mint mark shouldn't exist at all, could be worth a staggering sum. And then, there are striking errors: coins that were misaligned, off-center, or struck multiple times. When a planchet is not correctly positioned between the dies, the design may appear shifted, with part of it missing and a blank crescent visible. These off-center strikes are already popular among collectors, but a significant off-center strike on a 1978 quarter with other errors such as doubling or a wrong planchet could be worth a fortune. Another rare phenomenon is a broad strike error, where the coin expands beyond its normal boundaries because it was struck without the restraining collar that shapes its edge. This results in a coin that looks larger and slightly stretched, with the design spilling out toward the rim. A 1978 broad strike quarter in mint condition, especially with other rare traits, could command a huge premium. Some of the most fascinating 1978 quarters ever discussed by collectors involve combinations of these errors. Imagine a 1978 D quarter struck off-center on a silver planchet, with doubling on the word Liberty, and a mint mark that appears twice. That would be a coin so rare and unique that it could be considered one of the greatest minting anomalies in U.S. history, and it's this kind of hypothetical perfection of imperfection that drives the estimated $144 million value of the rarest 1978 Liberty quarter. Now, let's talk about the context of that year. In 1978, the United States Mint was under pressure to produce vast quantities of coins to meet national demand. The presses were running almost constantly, and dies were being replaced frequently to keep production moving. Under such intense conditions, it's no surprise that some errors slipped through. Mint employees, human as they are, may have made small mistakes when preparing dies or feeding planchets. Machinery might have malfunctioned for a few moments, leading to slight misalignments. These brief, unintentional events could create one-of-a-kind coins that would later become treasures. Over the years, collectors have reported a handful of 1978 quarters with unusual features. Some weigh slightly more or less than the standard 5.67 grams, indicating the possibility of a wrong planchet. Others have shown doubling or die cracks, thin raised lines that appear when a die develops a fracture. Now in the third history we go to another exciting and unbelievable episode, where we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins that have captured the attention of collectors and treasure hunters all around the globe. We're uncovering the incredible story behind the 1985 Liberty Quarter Dollar from the United States, a coin that has astonished experts and enthusiasts because of one extraordinary example reportedly valued at an unbelievable $133 million. Imagine that a simple 25-cent coin, something millions of people have used daily without a second thought, turning out to be worth a fortune that could buy entire estates, yachts, or even a private jet. But how could something so small, so common, become so incredibly valuable? Let's embark on a detailed journey through its history, design, errors, and the fascinating possibilities that turned this 1985 Liberty Quarter Dollar into one of the most intriguing stories in modern numismatics. The 1985 Liberty Quarter Dollar, part of the Washington Quarter series, was minted during an era when coinage in the United States was undergoing subtle but significant changes. By this time, the quarter was composed of a copper-nickel clad, a far cry from the 90% silver content that quarters had before 1965. Millions of 1985 quarters were struck by the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with ordinary circulation in mind. Yet within these millions, some mysterious examples showed unique characteristics, striking errors, mint mark anomalies, and production mistakes that made collectors pause and examine them with awe. The quarter bears the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse, designed by John Flanagan, a design that has endured for decades as a symbol of stability and American pride. The reverse showcases the majestic bald eagle with wings spread, clutching arrows and olive branches, a powerful symbol of strength and peace. But what makes one 1985 Liberty Quarter worth $133 million isn't just the design or age, it's the hidden errors, the rare anomalies, and the one-of-a-kind minting mysteries that make this coin a true legend. To understand how a 1985 quarter could be worth such an astronomical figure, we first need to appreciate the nature of mint errors and how they influence a coin's rarity and desirability. Most coins leave the mint in perfect, standard form, struck under strict controls. However, in rare instances, mistakes happen: an incorrect planchet, a doubled die, a misplaced mint mark, a broad strike, an off-center strike, or even a wrong metal composition. These rare mistakes transform ordinary coins into valuable treasures. The 1985 Liberty Quarter is no exception. There are reports and rumors of a few specimens struck on silver planchets left over from earlier production runs, even though silver was long phased out by then. Imagine a 1985 quarter that's supposed to be copper-nickel, but instead, it's made of silver that alone could skyrocket its value. Add to that the possibility of a misaligned die, a double strike, or a missing mint mark, and you have a recipe for a coin worth millions. Collectors have long been fascinated by transitional errors, where the mint unintentionally uses planchets from a previous era. In the case of the 1985 Liberty Quarter, there have been whisperings about specimens struck on 40% silver planchets meant for proof issues or foreign contracts. The sound of silver, the weight difference, and the distinct color tone make such quarters immediately stand out to experts. The minting process is supposed to prevent these errors, but perfection is impossible, and sometimes a rare anomaly escapes quality control. Those lucky enough to find such coins might not even realize at first what they're holding until a professional grading company like PCGS or NGC confirms it, and the coin's value skyrockets. The story of the 1985 Liberty Quarter worth $133 million likely begins with such an error, a combination of factors that make it utterly unique in the numismatic world. Beyond composition errors, mint mark varieties play an equally vital role in determining a coin's rarity. In 1985, quarters were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The Philadelphia coins typically carried no mint mark, while Denver coins bore a small D below Washington's portrait. But what if that mint mark was misplaced, doubled, or struck in error. In several instances throughout U.S. coin history, misplaced or repunched mint marks have created extraordinary collector value. A doubled mint mark, for example, where the D is slightly off-center or struck twice, can create visual intrigue and significantly increase value. Collectors love such imperfections because they tell a story, one of human craftsmanship, machine error, and historical uniqueness. The 1985 D Liberty Quarter might feature exactly that, a mint mark anomaly that distinguishes it from millions of standard quarters. Imagine finding a coin where the mint mark appears twice, or one where it's faintly visible under magnification, a small detail that turns a 25-cent piece into a treasure worth more than anyone could imagine. There's also the possibility of die errors, where the metal dies used to strike the coin develop cracks, doubling, or distortions. Die cracks can cause raised lines or unusual features on a coin's surface. Die deterioration, doubling, mechanical doubling, or hub doubling can all result in subtle yet dramatic visual effects. A 1985 Liberty Quarter showing strong doubling on Washington's profile, especially on the word Liberty, or the date 1985, could be an incredible rarity. Doubling on the motto "I in God We Trust" or on the eagle's feathers on the reverse adds even more intrigue. Each such error tells its own story, a silent record of what happened in the minting presses decades ago. Sometimes these errors are small, almost invisible to the naked eye, but once discovered, they make history. A coin that combines multiple such anomalies, a doubled die, a mint mark error, and an incorrect metal composition, would be an unparalleled numismatic masterpiece, explaining why its estimated worth could reach $133 million. Then there's the human fascination with rarity itself. Rarity fuels value, and the 1985 Liberty Quarter has the perfect mix of mystery and scarcity. Most coins are common, millions of identical copies exist, and their only worth lies in their face value. But when something deviates from that norm, collectors take notice. The psychology of collecting plays a massive role. People crave what others cannot have. The allure of owning a one-of-a-kind piece of American history, something so unique that no second example exists, makes prices skyrocket in private auctions. This is why coins like the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1794 Flowing Hair Dollar have fetched millions at auction. The 1985 Liberty Quarter may stand in that same league, thanks to its mythical rarity and the excitement surrounding its discovery. Let's also consider how condition affects value. Coin grading is crucial in the world of numismatics. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a perfect, flawless example. Even a common coin can increase drastically in value if it's in mint state or uncirculated condition. The 1985 Liberty Quarter that reached the staggering value of $133 million was reportedly in pristine condition, brilliantly uncirculated, with sharp details, lustrous surfaces, and possibly even proof-like qualities. Every tiny mark or blemish affects value, and a coin that survived decades without wear is almost miraculous. The preservation of such a specimen adds another layer of rarity. Many 1985 quarters have circulated heavily, bearing scratches, wear, and discoloration. But a flawless or near-flawless specimen, coupled with a rare minting error, could be a once-in-a-lifetime find, explaining its jaw-dropping valuation. There's also a speculative aspect in coin valuation. Sometimes, coins become symbols of intrigue in the collecting world, their fame pushing their value even higher. A coin that gains attention on social media or through collector forums can spark bidding wars. Stories spread rapidly. Someone hears of a quarter sold for millions, and suddenly everyone checks their change jars.